Ever feel like your teenager is speaking a totally different language, especially when it comes to what's happening at school behind closed doors? Welcome to the Rising Parent Podcast. I'm Tim.
And I'm Edna. Today, we are diving into an incredibly crucial topic, vaping prevention for teens, parent guide to e-cigarette risks and talking to kids.
Exactly. It's a hidden reality, you guys. Vapes today look like USB drives, highlighters. It's terrifyingly stealthy.
Right? So today we're giving you the tools to spot these devices and, more importantly, how to actually talk to your kids about peer pressure without them rolling their eyes and shutting you out. Let's get into it.
You know, Edna, this is one of those topics that comes up in our coaching sessions constantly right now. It feels like every time we turn around, another parent is blindsided by the whole vaping world.
Oh, absolutely. It's completely overwhelming. And honestly, it's not just a high school problem anymore. We are talking to parents of middle schoolers, even upper elementary students, navigating this massive wave of peer pressure. It's wild.
Yeah, it really is. And I think the biggest shock for the parents we work with is just how invisible it can be. Back when we were teenagers, well, let's just say smoking was pretty obvious, right? You could smell it on clothes, you could see the packs.
Oh, totally. The smell was a dead giveaway. You couldn't hide it if you tried. But today, e-cigarettes are designed specifically to be discreet, which is brilliant from a marketing standpoint, but an absolute nightmare for parents.
Exactly. Before we dive too deep into the signs and how to spot them, I just want to jump in really quick. Just a quick, transparent reminder, we do use affiliate links in our show notes for any resources or products we mentioned today. It just helps support the show at no extra cost to you, so we can keep bringing you guys great content.
Yes, and we have some really good resources to share today. So, Tim, let's talk about what these things actually look like. Because I remember a mom we worked with recently in one of our coaching sessions. Let's call her Sarah, for privacy reasons, of course.
I remember Sarah.
Yeah, so Sarah was doing her 14-year-old's laundry, and she finds what she thinks is a cool new USB flash drive in his pocket. It looked sleek, metallic, honestly like a tech accessory. She puts it on his desk, doesn't think twice about it.
Wow.
Right? It wasn't until a couple of weeks later she was talking to another mom who mentioned that a lot of vapes look exactly like flash drives and a light bulb went off. She went back, looked closer, and realized it was a vape pen. She was absolutely devastated.
See, and that is so common. We hear that story in our coaching all the time. Vapes today are disguised as everyday items. We're talking flash drives, smartwatches, highlighters, even the strings on hoodies. They make hoodies where the end of the drawstring is literally a mouthpiece for a vape.
Oh my gosh, the hoodie one still blows my mind. It's stealthy. And the smells, let's talk about the smells, because unlike traditional cigarettes that smell like ash and smoke, vapes smell like, well, a candy shop.
Yeah, mango, cotton candy, blue raspberry.
Exactly. So if you walk into your preteen or teen's bedroom and it suddenly smells incredibly sweet and you know they haven't been baking cupcakes, that is a massive red flag.
A massive one. Another physical sign to look out for, and this is something we always bring up when we work with families, is increased thirst. Vaping contains propylene glycol, which actually absorbs moisture and leaves users with a chronic dry mouth. So if your kid is suddenly downing water bottles like crazy, or they're constantly asking for drinks, or they're suddenly super sensitive to caffeine, pay attention to that.
Yes, the dry mouth. Also nosebleeds. The chemicals can really dry out their nasal passages if they exhale through their nose. It's those little subtle shifts that parents need to look for because the teenagers aren't going to just volunteer this information.
No, of course not. And honestly, it's the nicotine addiction in adolescence that makes this so dangerous. A lot of kids and even some parents think vaping is just flavored water vapor. That is the biggest myth out there.
Oh, a huge myth. Most of these devices contain incredibly high levels of nicotine. Sometimes one single pod has as much nicotine as an entire pack of 20 cigarettes.
Right. and the adolescent brain is still developing. It is uniquely vulnerable to addiction, which actually reminds me of a fantastic resource we constantly recommend in our coaching sessions when parents are struggling to understand why their teen is acting so impulsively. It's a book called The Teenage Brain by Frances E. Jensen. Have you looked through that one recently, Edna?
Yes. Oh, I love that book. The Teenage Brain by Frances E. Jensen is phenomenal. She really breaks down the neurology of why teenagers are so susceptible to addiction and peer pressure. It completely changes the way you look at your kids' behavior. Instead of seeing them as just being rebellious, you realize their brain chemistry is literally under construction.
Exactly. It helps so much with that transition from frustration to empathy, which is huge when you're dealing with something like vaping, because when a teen gets hooked on nicotine, the behavioral changes are intense.
The mood swings.
The mood swings are off the charts. We worked with a family. Let's call the son Marcus for privacy reasons. And Marcus's parents came to us because he was just erupting over everything, slamming doors, completely irritable, deeply anxious. They thought it was just standard teenage angst, maybe stress from sports.
But it was nicotine withdrawal.
Exactly. It was withdrawal. He couldn't vape during his 8-hour school day. So by the time he got home, he was essentially going through heavy nicotine withdrawal. He was crawling out of his skin.
Wow, that breaks my heart. And you know, Tim, it reminds me of how early the desire to fit in really starts. Back in the days when we ran our daycare, I vividly remember observing the toddlers. If one toddler decided that the red block was the coolest toy in the room, suddenly all 6 toddlers would literally fight over that one red block, even if there were 5 other red blocks right next to it.
Yes, the toddler hive mind.
Right? It's that primal instinct to do what your peers are doing. And that instinct doesn't go away, it just evolves. So by the time they hit middle school and high school, that red block becomes a vape pen in the school bathroom. The stakes are just so much higher.
That is such a great analogy, Edna. It's the exact same peer pressure, just with dangerous consequences.
Exactly. And before we get into the nitty-gritty of how to actually sit down and talk to your kids about this without it turning into a screaming match, I think this is a perfect moment to take a quick pause.
Absolutely. We want to quickly remind you guys that new episodes of the Rising Parent podcast are released every Monday and Friday, so make sure you are subscribed so you never miss out.
Yes, and we also want to remind you why we do this. We created this podcast to help families thrive, but also to raise funding for our nonprofit mobile food bank, Selfless Outreach.
That's right. If you've found value in this episode or any of our episodes, please consider donating to Selfless Outreach by going to selflessoutreach.org and hitting the donate button.
Every single donation helps Selfless Outreach serve the underserved in our communities. We're so passionate about getting meals to families who really need them. We will have a link to Selfless Outreach provided right down there in the show notes for you guys.
Thank you guys so much for your support. All right, let's dive back in. So we know what to look for: the flash drives, the sweet smells, the mood swings, the thirst. But now comes the hardest part for most parents: actually talking about it.
Yes, the dreaded conversation. Because let's be real, the minute you say, "we need to talk," your teenager's defenses go up.
Oh, immediately. The shields are fully deployed.
So how do we approach this? Because in our coaching sessions, we always say that a one-size-fits-all approach just doesn't work. You have to tailor it. But there are some universal truths to communicating with teenagers.
Totally. And the biggest one is, don't make it an interrogation. You have to come at it from a place of curiosity, not accusation. If you charge into their room holding up a vape you found, screaming, "What is this?" they are going to lie. They will lie to protect themselves. They will lie to protect their friends.
Yep, survival mode.
Exactly. Instead, we really encourage families to use side-by-side conversations.
Oh, I love side-by-side conversations. Explain that a bit for the listeners, Tim.
So a side-by-side conversation is exactly what it sounds like. You are physically next to your teen, not making direct, intense eye contact. Eye contact can feel very confrontational to an adolescent. So driving in the car is the absolute best place for this. You're both looking at the road, or maybe you're washing dishes together or walking the dog.
Yes, just doing an activity together takes the pressure off.
Exactly. And then you just naturally drop it in. You could say something like, "Hey, I was reading this crazy article today about how many kids are vaping in middle schools now. Is that a big thing at your school?"
I love that. It's so casual. You're asking for their expertise on their environment. You aren't saying, "Are you vaping?" You're just asking about the culture.
Right. And then you just listen. Active listening. Don't interrupt them to give a lecture.
That is so hard for us as parents. We just want to fix it and impart all our wisdom immediately.
I know, it takes so much self-control. But if they say, "Yeah, a lot of kids do it in the bathroom," you just say, "Wow, that must be pretty stressful to be around all the time. Why do you think so many people are doing it?"
Yes, asking open-ended questions. And if you struggle with keeping the conversation flowing without it turning into a lecture, there is a classic book that we recommend to literally almost every parent we coach. It's How to Talk So Teens Will Listen and Listen So Teens Will Talk.
Oh, a staple, an absolute staple.
It really is. How to Talk So Teens Will Listen and Listen So Teens Will Talk gives you the actual scripts and the emotional framework to connect with your teenager instead of just correcting them. Because if you don't have connection, your correction means nothing.
Connect before you correct. That is the golden rule. We had a family we worked with, let's call the daughter Chloe for privacy reasons. And Chloe's mom was so terrified of vaping because of a family history of severe addiction. So every time the topic of peer pressure came up, the mom would just spiral into this heavy, fear-based lecture.
And how did Chloe react?
She completely shut down. She stopped telling her mom anything about her friends. In our coaching sessions, we had to help the mom pivot. We had her start using game nights to organically spark conversations, just to get them laughing and talking again.
Game nights are great for that.
They are. Actually, that's another great tool. They started using Table Topics Teen Edition. Have you seen these?
Yes, the little acrylic cube with the question cards.
That's the one. Table Topics Teen Edition is brilliant because the questions are engaging, sometimes silly, sometimes deep, but it takes the pressure off the parent to come up with a topic. It just levels the playing field. And once Chloe and her mom rebuilt that baseline of communication, the mom was finally able to say, "Hey, I get anxious about vaping because I love you and I know how hard addiction is in our family." And Chloe actually heard her that time.
Wow, that is beautiful because she felt safe. She didn't feel attacked.
Exactly.
Another thing we have to address is the actual peer pressure itself, because teens are navigating an incredibly complex social hierarchy. If someone offers them a vape at a party or in the locker room, just saying no thanks, drugs are bad, isn't going to cut it for a lot of kids. They need an out that saves face.
That is such a crucial point. We have to equip them with exit strategies.
Right, and in our work with families, we often help parents role play this with their kids. Let your teen blame you. I always tell parents, be the bad guy. Tell your kid they can say, "Are you kidding? My mom is a psycho. She drug tests me," or "My dad would literally end my life if I got caught. I'm out."
Yes, be the strict, crazy parent in their social narrative if it keeps them safe.
Absolutely. Whatever keeps them out of the hot seat, or give them a coded text message. If they text you a certain emoji like a red heart or a pizza slice, that means call me right now and tell me I have to come home immediately for a family emergency.
I love the coded text. It empowers them to make the right choice without looking uncool to their peers. And really, that's what a lot of this comes down to. Empowerment. We want to empower parents to know what to look for, but we also need to empower our teens to navigate their environment safely.
And it's an ongoing conversation. It's not a one-and-done talk. You have to keep checking in. Keep the door open.
So true. All right, as we wrap up this deep dive, let's quickly summarize the key takeaways for all the parents listening out there. Edna, what's number one?
Number one, educate yourself on what these devices actually look and smell like. Remember, they look like flash drives, highlighters, smartwatch bands, and they smell like fruit or candy. Do not assume your teen's room just smells like a new body wash. Pay attention to those details.
Perfect. Number 2, watch for the subtle physical and behavioral signs. Unexplained nosebleeds, excessive thirst, and massive mood swings or anxiety when they get home from school. Don't write off every mood swing as just teen angst. Keep nicotine withdrawal on your radar.
Yes, and number 3, focus on connection over interrogation. Use side-by-side conversations in the car. Ask curious, open-ended questions about what they see at school rather than accusing them directly. And remember to give them an exit strategy for when they do face peer pressure.
Absolutely. Navigating the teenage years is not for the faint of heart, but you guys do not have to do it alone. We are here to support you every step of the way.
We really are. And we want to hear from you guys. What are your biggest challenges when it comes to talking to your teens about peer pressure? Let us know.
Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode of the Rising Parent Podcast. If you found today's conversation helpful, please hit that subscribe button right now. Leave us a 5-star review. It really helps the show grow and reach more parents who might need this exact information today.
Yes, please subscribe and review. And be sure to visit our website at risingparent.org. And as a quick reminder, new episodes of the Rising Parent Podcast drop every Monday and Friday, so mark your calendars.
Also, one last important reminder before we sign off. We created this podcast to help families, but our ultimate mission is to raise funding for our nonprofit mobile food bank, Selfless Outreach.
Yes, if you found value in this episode, please consider donating to Selfless Outreach by going to selflessoutreach.org and hitting that donate button.
Every single donation helps Selfless Outreach serve the underserved in our communities. We've put a direct link to Selfless Outreach in the show notes to make it super easy for you.
Thank you all so much for your generosity and for showing up today to be the best parents you can be. Give yourself some grace this week.
Beautifully said. Until next time, keep learning, keep connecting, and keep rising. See you guys on the next episode.